Okay, this is side 2 of the notes for day 1, unit 5. So reminder, when multiplying two expressions with a common base, so same base, we add the exponents. When we raise a power to a power, we multiply the exponents. So let's do some example problems. So on this first problem, I see that I have the same base. The base is 3. So my rule is keep the base and add the exponents. So 4 plus -8 is -4. Now, we're not allowed to have negative exponents. When we see a negative exponent, we switch sides. So this 3 could be considered on the top. If I think about this as a fraction, the 3 is in the numerator, the 1's in the denominator. To get rid of that -4, I move it to the denominator, to the bottom. And when I move it, that -4 becomes positive. And of course, I have to have something on the top, so I put a 1. So now, because this is numbers and not variables, I can simplify. I can do 3 to the 4th, and that gives me 81. So I have 1 over 81. On the second one, I'm dividing. Same base. So I keep the base, and I'm going to subtract. And I look to see which one is bigger. I have 8 and I have 3. 8 is bigger, and 8 is on the top, so I know that my answer is going on the top. 8 minus 3 is 5. So now my calculator, in parentheses, I would do -2 to the 5th, and that gives me -32. This one is power to a power. So I have 5 squared to the 3rd, which is 2 times 3 is 6. In my calculator, 5 to the 6 is 15,625. This one, it's to the -4th. So what that means is I'm going to flip everything inside to make it positive. So 2 over 1 to the +4. And now I just have 2 to the 4th, so 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. If I put that on my calculator, 2 to the 4th, I get 16. So again, if the whole thing in parentheses is to the negative, then you put what's on the bottom on the top, and on the top on the bottom. Number 5, same base. I'm going to do the top first. I keep the base, and there's nothing written here, but we know that's a 1. So I add the exponents. 1 plus 3 is 4, and that's over 4 to the 6. Now I'm dividing. This time my bigger number, my bigger exponent's on the bottom. So I know that my answer is going to be on the bottom. 6 minus 4 is 2. So I have 1 over 4 squared, or 1 over 16. Now I'm back to just variables. So in terms of my number part, the exponent only acts directly on what it's touching, and there's no parentheses here. So this 3 is only for the y, it's not for the 2. So I know I'm just going to have 2. And then I have division. My bigger exponent's on the bottom, so my y is going to be on the bottom. 5 minus 3 is 2. Number 7, it's a power to a power, but I have multiple things inside the parentheses, so I need to distribute the 4. So it's 4 to the 4th and x to the 3rd to the 4th. So 4 to the 4th I get from my calculator. 4 to the 4th is 256. This is a power to a power, so 3 times 4 is 12. So my answer is 256 x to the 12th. Anytime I see 0, I can cross it off. And this 0 is only touching that x, so it's only applying to the x. That's 1. So I'm going to cross it off. And then this is y to the -2. We're not allowed to have negative exponents when we simplify. So this was on the top. If I write that like a fraction, I'm going to move it to the bottom. And when I move it, it becomes positive. And of course, I have to have something on the top. So I have 1 over y squared. Number 9. I'm going to, every time I see negative exponents in a fraction, I'm just going to move them. So I see x to the -1, I'm going to cross it off, and I'm going to write it up here as a positive. And then I'm going to work on simplifying. So in terms of numbers, 5 over 2, I can't simplify that fraction at all. On the top here, I have x squared times x. So I keep the base and add the exponents. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then I have a y to the 1 and a y cubed. I'm dividing. Well, y cubed, 3 is bigger than 1, so my y is going to go on the bottom, and 3 minus 1 is 2. Number 10, I start with my number part, the negative 3 and the 9. That I can simplify. That's a fraction. That simplifies to negative 1 over 3. I'm going to cross out this y to the negative 4 and write it on the top as y to the positive 4 so that I only have to deal with positive exponents. And now I see I have x's here. There's 1 x on top and 3 on the bottom. So since I have more on the bottom, I know my x is going to go on the bottom, and 3 minus 1 is 2. And then my y's, I have 1y times 4y. So y to the 1 times y to the 4th, keep the base, add the exponents. Number 11, I'm going to do all my number part first. Well, I'm just going to go, let's just multiply across actually. So and before I multiply, let's get rid of these negatives. So x to the negative 1, let's put that on the bottom as x. Y to the negative 1, let's put that on the top as y. Now let's multiply across. I have negative 2 times 2, that's negative 4. And then I have x squared y. On the bottom I have 3. X times x is x squared and y cubed. Now I say I have the same thing on the top and bottom, so I can cross off x squared, same, cross them off. And then my last step here is to deal with this y and y cubed. I have more on the bottom, so I'm going to keep my y on the bottom. 3 minus 1 is 2. Number 12, again I'm going to move these negatives. So I've got x to the negative 1, I'm going to move that as x to the 1. And then I'm going to multiply top times top and bottom times bottom. So top times top, 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. I don't have any other x's, and then I have y times y is y squared. On the bottom I have 8. X cubed times x is x to the 4th, and I don't have any other y's. Now I can simplify my fraction first, so I can see that these are both even numbers, so I can divide both of them by 2, which gives me negative 5 over 4. X squared and x to the 4th, I have more on the bottom, so I'm going to write my x on the bottom. 4 minus 2 is 2. Y squared over y, I have more on the top, so my y goes on the top. 2 minus 1 is just 1. Number 13, I'm going to distribute this squared to everything in the parentheses, so I have 4 squared, x to the 4th squared, y to the 3rd squared. So 4 squared is 16. This is power to a power, so I multiply exponents. 4 times 2 is 8. And again, power to a power, multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. Number 14, I multiply number part times number part, so 4 times 2 is 8. And then on these, I keep the base and I add the exponents. So 2 plus 3 is 5. Again, 15, I keep the base and I add the exponents. 6 plus negative 6 is 0, and anything to the 0 is 1. And last question, a division problem. I'm going to move my negative, so this y to the negative 4, I'm going to move it to the bottom, make it positive 4. This x to the negative 1, I'm going to move it to the top. Now on the top, I have x cubed times x. Keep the base, add the exponents. On the bottom, y squared times y to the 4th, keep the base, and add the exponents.